Hello, and welcome to our Salute to Stratford celebration of everything that's great about Shakespeare's hometown. William Shakespeare was born in Stratford 456 years ago today. For centuries, his birthday has been celebrated with parades and pageants, but not this year. Today, our streets are empty as the whole world strives to beat the coronavirus. Instead, we're turning the spotlight on the brilliant and resilient people who make Stratford-upon-Avon such a special place to live, work and visit any day of the year. We want to celebrate with you, the people and the organisations who are at the beating heart of the global Shakespeare story. Please share your stories of the best of Stratford-upon-Avon with us as we gather with our friends and neighbours to talk about what makes Stratford tick. This online gathering is brought to you by the Shakespeare Birthplace Trust, the independent charity that cares for the world's greatest Shakespeare heritage in his hometown of Stratford-upon-Avon. To reflect the global nature of the show and the global nature of Shakespeare, we have a friend helping us from across the Atlantic. Our host is Shri Srinivasan, a professor of digital innovation at Stony Brook University and a huge Shakespeare fan. Please welcome Shri.
Hello, everyone. It's 6 a.m. here in New York and 11 a.m. in Stratford-upon-Avon. It's Shakespeare's 456th birthday, and I'm thrilled to be your host for today's celebration of his hometown. We're having an amazing lineup of folks, and we want to share your comments, your greetings, and more. What's your favorite play or sonnet? Please tell us. Have you been to Stratford? Is it on your bucket list? Tell us with the hashtag Salute to Stratford. I want to tell you that my father was born in a small village in Kerala in India and grew up to be a Shakespeare scholar before he became an ambassador and diplomat. And his book is entitled Words, Words, Words. And that is, as all of you who are Shakespeare buffs know, from Hamlet, the part where Polonius says, "What do you read, my lord?" Hamlet says, "Words, words, words." This is Act 2, Scene 2 in Hamlet. And I am thrilled to welcome onto the stage here with me to join me for today, the CEO of Shakespeare Birthplace Trust, Tim Cook. Hi, Tim.
Well, good morning, Sri. It's really lovely to see you. Sorry it's so early for you. It's a very civilized time here in Stratford-upon-Avon. And we're very grateful to you for hosting all of this and joining us to mark Shakespeare's birthday.
Yeah, what a special day it is today. Thank you for convening all of us today to talk about Shakespeare and his hometown. First, I ask all our guests, how are you doing? Tell us about what's happening there.
Okay, so maybe a few words, first of all, about the Shakespeare Birthplace Trust, because I'm conscious that amongst our audience, there may be those who are not particularly familiar with it. So the trust was formed in 1847 after Shakespeare's birthplace was purchased at public auction. And along the way, the trust continued to add properties to its portfolio, which related to Shakespeare. So now, as well as the birthplace, we have the site of Shakespeare's own family home, New Place in Stratford-upon-Avon. We have Anne Hathaway's cottage, telling Shakespeare's love story. We have Mary Arden's farm, which is where Shakespeare's mother came from. And we have Hall's Croft, which is where Shakespeare's daughter, Susanna, is believed to have lived with her husband, Dr. John Hall. And of course, then we also have the Shakespeare Centre beside the birthplace in Henley Street. And all of those properties are normally open to visitors who come from all over the world to learn about Shakespeare and about Stratford, except at the moment, of course, they're closed due to the current pandemic. And then on top of running these wonderful sites, SBT operates a museum. It operates learning and research programs, which attract more than 2 million visitors a year. And all of this we do in partnership with many others, from schools, colleges, universities, theatres, community organisations, tourism groups, and representatives of public and civic life. And viewers and listeners are going to meet some of those people during this live broadcast. Today, as you said, is Shakespeare's birthday. He would have been 456 today. And at this time of the year, all of the partners that I've been speaking about would come together and have a great big parade in Stratford-upon-Avon. This year, we were due to begin at the Birthplace and make our way through the town to Holy Trinity Church to lay wreaths at Shakespeare's grave. And many thousands of people would have turned out to watch, local people, and of course visitors from around the world, reflecting the fact that Stratford is a town of some 30,000 residents, which welcomes almost 6 million visitors a year. So it's usually a bustling, busy place. And so during this lockdown, which we're all experiencing, I've had occasion to be back in Stratford in the centre of town a couple of times for essential reasons. And I have to say, to be really honest, I found it to be quite an emotional experience. And there is something rather jolting, a kind of displacement of the mind and the emotions to witness the town so deserted. Yes, of course, it still has its fabulous history. Yes, it has its buildings, but without its people, without the energy of a global meeting place for humanity in search of meaning and their own sense of place in the world through exploring Shakespeare's story and performance of his work, it feels like a very different place. So with your help, Sri, and with the participation of many others, we're reconnecting today as a community to celebrate Shakespeare, his birthday, our town, and very especially its people. And it's a real delight and privilege to be part of that.
Thank you so much, Tim. I'm so excited to hear the conversation with everyone. At the same time, we are all a little sad that Stratford isn't the bustling town it normally is. When people go, they see crowds and crowds of people who are just so happy to be there. I first went when I was 9 years old, and then I went back many years later, and everything I remember about it is just how much joy there is in discovering Shakespeare. But for all of you who live there, it's extra special. Live and work, it's extra special. Let's get some of the comments with people watching around the world. Hundreds of people are watching right now, and it'll be thousands by the time we're done. Let's pull up some of the comments. We say good morning from the U.S. Tim is watching in Philadelphia, in Pennsylvania. And we have Paul is posting that we've been running the Shakespeare Cup on Instagram this week in celebration of his birthday, pitting Shakespeare's plays against each other in a knockout voting system. Tim, I don't think you're allowed to have a favorite play or sonnet, are you? Are you allowed to do that?
I certainly have plays and works that have a lot of meaning for me. I didn't grow up in Stratford-upon-Avon. I'm a blow-in, as they would say. I grew up in Belfast in Northern Ireland, and in a very difficult context, actually, during the Troubles in Northern Ireland. So to discover Shakespeare's work in that context was profound, meaningful, genuinely transformational. In that kind of violent context, to encounter words like the quality of mercy is not strained, it droppeth as the gentle rain from heaven. So we all find meaning in certain ways in Shakespeare, and certainly that was part of my early experience.
I'm seeing these comments coming in from around the world, folks. Please tell us where you're watching from. Please post. We are delighted to hear and see your comments. We're using the hashtag Salute to Stratford. Christoph is saying happy birthday, William Shakespeare. We love that. Let's get more of the comments in. I see Roberta is watching from Virginia. Arthi says happy birthday to William Shakespeare. Christoph was watching from France, which is just great to see all these comments coming in from around the world. We've had multiple people say that they like your floral lapel. We like that.
What about that? Shall I say something about that?
Please.
Because by tradition, for Shakespeare's birthday, we wear some rosemary because Ophelia, as you know, tells us that rosemary is for remembrance. I've also added in a pansy for thoughts, if you can see it a little more clearly, perhaps. And then I've taken some license, so I hope Ophelia doesn't mind. I've added in some sage and also some forget-me-not, because all of those things seem appropriate for today.
Yeah, that's perfect. I love that. And there, Shakespeare's England is saying hello to you, and we will meet Shakespeare's England in a little bit. Please keep sharing, folks. Tag your friends. Hit share right now. This is going to be an incredible morning for everyone to celebrate Shakespeare's 456th birthday. He said you should have come. He would have come from France. Christoph says for the celebration. So it's really great to see your comments here. Let's bring in our gathering. What we're going to do is we have so many different people who wanted to celebrate Shakespeare with us that we couldn't fit them all into one session. So we're going to break up this hour by showing you different aspects of Shakespeare and of Stratford. So as you can see on the screen, we're meeting right now with Tim Cook, who's the CEO of Shakespeare Birthplace Trust. Then we're about to meet Madam Mayor, the Mayor of Stratford. Then we're going to, she's also going to be joined by Sarah Summers of the Town Council and Joe Bacanet of the Stratford Business Improvement District and Sarah Aspley of the Stratford Town Trust. So let's gather them all and have a conversation. We will also be having more folks joining us, including from King Edward VI School, from Shakespeare Schoolroom, Holy Trinity Church, Royal Shakespeare Company, Stratford-upon-Avon Herald, Escape Arts, and Shakespeare's England. It's a full 14 hours of conversation. It'll just seem like that, Tim, right? It's only an hour that we have. Look at this great-looking group of people. Hello, everybody.
Hello. Hello. Hi.
Hello.
Great to see you all. We have to start with the mayor, don't we, Tim?
I think so. Order, absolutely.
And please welcome the mayor of Stratford, Kate Rolfe. Hi, Madam Mayor. Thank you for joining us. Please tell us how you're doing, what's going on, and tell us what you're wearing too.
Okay. Thank you for inviting me today. I'm wearing the chain of office as Mayor of Stratford-upon-Avon. It's very beautiful and it's very heavy, and I'm very proud to wear it. So in normal circumstances, I would be getting so excited about this weekend. I'd be preparing myself for an extremely busy weekend. Tonight, I would have been honouring all our wonderful volunteers we have in our town, and one particular volunteer would have been receiving the Mayor's Award. Tomorrow would have been the highlight of the weekend, with the parade through the town and the town looking amazing, full of colour, full of flags and full of people. Then there would have been the lunch to honour Shakespeare. And on Sunday, I would have been at the starting line of the Shakespeare Marathon, not taking part, you understand, but pressing the start button. So here we are now, and none of that is happening because, to quote, the time is out of joint. However, it is still the birthday of William Shakespeare, and the sun is shining, and therefore we have much to celebrate. We're all here together celebrating, and we must be grateful for what we have. Thank you. Keep safe and keep well. Thank you.
Thank you. What beautiful words, Tim. We're just so grateful to you, Madam Mayor, for leading the town of Stratford. May I ask you, if that's okay, there's a lot of intrigue in Shakespearean plays. How much intrigue is there in Stratford when it comes to politics?
Oh, do I have to answer that one? Mayors and the town council are completely non-political. I will leave it at that.
Okay. Let's go to our town clerk, as we say in England, or town clerk, as we say in the US. Let's go to Sarah Summers. Thank you for being here.
A pleasure. Thank you for having me. Actually, it reminds me that I went on honeymoon to America, and I told somebody who I was, Sarah Summers. I'm the town clerk. Do you have town clerks in America? And they said to me, yes, we do. We have one down the road, and it strikes on the hour. So a town clerk, not a town clerk. Anyway, hello, and thank you for having me. I'm just slightly concerned about this coronavirus and getting days mixed up, because I think we're a day out, Kate, Madam Mayor. I think it's Thursday today, isn't it? So everything would be happening at the weekend, which is
Oh my goodness me, yes, we have a day off. Oh,
anyway. So if it was tomorrow, I think I would definitely be panicking, because there's always so very much to do for the birthday celebrations. And it's such a shame, because for a number of years we haven't been able to leave and have our parade from the Shakespeare Birthplace, which was unfortunate, because it was always a cradle to grave pilgrimage. But fortunately now things are going back to normal, and we would have gone on Saturday from the Birthplace to the church, which would have been splendid. The poles would have been up, the flags would have been flying, there would have been hundreds and hundreds of people. And I'm gutted, really, because although it's an enormous amount of work, it's just Stratford, and it seems very, very strange that we will be walking through our town, if we allowed out on Saturday, and there won't be anything happening. But I tell you what, next year, just because we will really celebrate in style, I would imagine.
As we should, and as we will. Let's see some of the comments coming in. We have so many people watching around the world. Please tag your friends. Tell them to watch live or the replay on all the different channels. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on YouTube, we're even on LinkedIn. Emma is watching from Redditch, the town next to Stratford, and we have people around the world. So all over the world, and even in the town next door, and of course in Stratford as well. From Bradford, Corin says hello. Tell us about your favorite memories of Stratford. If you've been, or if you hope to go, tell us about that. It's so exciting to see all these comments, hundreds of people watching. Great to see this. We are in Stratford, and it was so sad not to have the parade this weekend. Thank you very much to the town clerk for being with us. Nikolay says, greetings from Moscow, Russia. We have a small conference next Sunday, and glad to see Annie's with us. So that's great. This is the global appeal of Shakespeare. And I want to ask Tim about that. How do you put that into context? You have people from around the world who visit the Birthplace Trust.
We do, Sri. We have people from 94 countries last year. Almost a million visits to our Shakespeare family properties. And as I said, more than that, obviously coming to Stratford, many people obviously coming to the Royal Shakespeare Company, which is a absolutely world-class company in terms of theatre and Shakespeare performance. So we have a representative joining us from the RSC later on. And of course, you know, Stratford is a very beautiful town in its own right, with the beautiful River Avon flowing through, and a whole host of independent shops and thriving organizations. So it's that kind of sense of a meeting place, definitely, around the whole notion of Shakespeare and his work. And I'm always very conscious that as hosts, we're responding to people who come from so many countries, and they start out with one small step on a journey to Stratford, and it often has great meaning for them. It's a very memorable experience. It gives them a chance to reflect on their own lives and their own situations in a very different context. Because Shakespeare speaks to us all, does he not? With his insights into life experience and human nature. So we're very conscious that that is a very universal appeal.
Thank you, Tim. And here's a comment from Arun is watching and says, thank you for organizing such a wonderful event during the time of lockdown. Nice isolation for him. So that's very nice. Let's bring in Sarah Aspley, who is with us. Sarah, thank you for being here. You're the Chief Executive of the Stratford Town Trust.
I am. Hello. Thank you, Sri. Thank you for organising this. And thank you for inviting us, Tim Cook, to be part of this. We're thrilled to be here today, celebrating Shakespeare's birthday in a very different way.
And tell us about the trust itself.
So the Stratford Town Trust dates back to 1553. But the thing that I wanted to share with you today is one of my favourite places in Stratford, which is the Guild Chapel at the top of Chapel Lane. The Guild Chapel dates back to 1269, so really, really ancient building in the town, and it really was the centre of the town and the centre of the community. It's clear that William Shakespeare and John Shakespeare both would have spent time in the chapel. And it's possible that John Shakespeare, William's father, was asked to cover up some of the beautiful medieval wall paintings that are evident on the walls of the chapel today. These are some of the most incredible depictions of society and life and Christianity and culture that we have in Europe, and Stratford's so lucky to have them. Now, of course, the chapel is closed at the moment, along with every other church and cathedral in the country. And I'm holding the key here today. This is the key that opens up the chapel doors. And I'm really, really looking forward to using this key to open the doors and welcome people back into the Guild Chapel, which is the most incredible place of quiet reflection and peace. I think we could all do with a bit of that now. Peaceful celebration of Shakespeare's birthday and recognising the incredible history and culture that the town has to offer.
Thank you so much. We're looking at some of the greetings coming in. Rao's watching from Warsaw. We also had someone watching from Jordan, and he said, "Happy birthday, boss," because that's how he's thinking of William Shakespeare. In New Jersey, they might say that's Bruce Springsteen, but that's all okay. Everybody's inspired by William Shakespeare. And this is a truly special day, folks. Please tag your friends. Please hit share. We have hundreds of people watching right now from around the world. Ask your questions. My father is watching. There he is, watching from Kerala in India. I earlier held up his book to celebrate. He brought me to Stratford in 1980 on our first trip to America. On our way, when we were moving to America, he brought me there, and I saw the joy in his eyes, and I'm getting a little emotional thinking about that time, but also how he, as a young man, growing up with essentially the same level of technology as William Shakespeare 400 years earlier, in a house with the level of electricity or plumbing, all of it was roughly the same. But from that home, he was able to fall in love with Shakespeare and get to where he became an ambassador and able to bring me there all those years later. And then in 2015, my family and I came to Stratford and spent time at Shakespeare Birthplace Trust. It was a life highlight, as I like to say. Let's get comments from the mayor about that. You see people around the world coming to your town. How does that feel? How do you express to other mayors how your work and your the kind of things that you have to look for are different perhaps from other comparably sized towns in England?
Oh, wow. Well, the first thing I want to say is 3 years ago, I visited Kerala and travelled around Kerala. And
yes.
Kerala is the most beautiful place. Stratford is just a very, very beautiful place to be. It's a beautiful place to live. And I think I have to be obviously quite parochial here by saying that it's probably the best place to live because I live here and Shakespeare once lived here, and because it's a very, very beautiful place. So I'd be very happy to be in competition with other towns of comparable size, but I still believe Shakespeare and Stratford is very special.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Sarah Aspley, can we ask you about the work that you're doing in this lockdown moment? What does that mean for you, and how are you keeping, all of you keeping the town going and the people working as much as they can? There are furloughs happening in town. Talk about that, please.
So we're working very closely with our colleagues at Stratford Town Council and other charities and groups across the town to make sure that the most needy in our community are getting the help that they require at this very difficult time. We've got 28,000 people in this parish of Stratford, and it's our intention to try and reach out to as many of those that need help as possible. We can see that the businesses in the town they're closed, and it's going to take a long time for them to recover. So as a grant making charity, Stratford Town Trust is thinking about the ways that we can use our grant making to reach out to help charities and groups, both now when they're in absolute crisis and need, but further down the line when they really need some help to reconnect with each other and start to build society and build life back up again, because we're in a crisis moment right now, but we will soon be in a recovery time. And I think it's important that we try and think of those two things in parallel. We've been a grant making charity for 500 years. And so we just want to continue with that work that we've been doing in all that time, and making sure that the people that need it most get the help that they need when they need it.
Thank you, Sarah. Same question to Sarah Summers, who is the town clerk of Stratford.
Sorry.
She's just going to unmute her mic and then we'll be set. Go ahead, please, Sarah.
Hello? Sorry about that. I had an instruction saying mute your microphone, so I did. Yes, it's been a privilege to work with the Town Trust in making sure that our community stays safe and that we can help people who have had to self-isolate, and there are a great many. And I would really love this opportunity now to pay tribute to the over 300 volunteers that have signed up to assist the community, collecting shopping for people, collecting medicine, just having well-being chats. It's fantastic, and it just goes to prove what a wonderful town we have, because those people, are actually risking themselves by having to go out and help others. But undoubtedly, that it's a great community spirit, even though we're all in lockdown.
Thank you so much. We're very grateful to all of you for being here. We're going to now look at our transitioning to our next team of folks who are going to be joining us on screen. I just want to read some of the comments. We have so many great folks who are commenting and also trying to show that what we're talking about today, what's happening today, Shakespeare is still relevant in the 21st century. My father just posted from Brutus, from Julius Caesar, the fault, dear Brutus, is not in our stars. And that's my father's comment there. Thank you very much. Please post your favorite comments. What makes it relevant today? What is working today? Where is Shakespeare today? Let's get those comments onto the screen by posting them. And please use Salute to Stratford. All the world's a stage rings so true at the moment. All the world's a stage, Shakespeare's England. And we are here on the stage. Well done, everyone. Salute to Stratford. Best wishes from all the Stratford Town Walk guides. I grew up going to Stratford, says Emma, with my grandparents, then later went to college and worked there. I really miss the town and the theater. Have so many great memories of the town from the parade and more. Maria says, happy birthday, Mr. Shakespeare. My son has a birthday today too. Isn't that great? He is 11, so we're reading Shakespeare today evening. We love Shakespeare. How great is this? I think we're ready now to bring on our next set of guests. We want to say goodbye to the folks who are with us. Kate Rolfe, Madam Mayor. She is the Mayor of Stratford Town. Thank you so much. Sarah Summers, who's the Town Clerk, and Sarah Aspley, who's with us, the Chief Executive of Stratford Town Trust. Tim, let's come to you again. Tim, how are you feeling? How are you doing to see this global conversation?
It's really fantastic to see all of the comments so positive, and I think there's someone sent me a letter during the week, which was a letter of encouragement in these difficult times, and they referred to a quote from Two Gentlemen of Verona. Hope is a lover's staff. Walk hence with that and manage it against despairing thoughts. And I think that's a lovely message. How relevant is Shakespeare? Well, he's very relevant in our times and in our situation. So I think that sense of community, that sense not just of community in Stratford-upon-Avon, but the sense of global community. Shakespeare's England remark about all the world's a stage. Well, if ever we didn't realize that that was true before, we certainly realize it now. And the interconnectedness of how we live, as individuals, as societies, across our different countries and continents. There's some really important challenges coming out of that, aren't there? And the kinds of themes that Shakespeare speaks to in terms of his sensibilities, in terms of his giving us insights into ourselves, in terms of thinking about how we live in this world and how we live together in this world going forward, I think are very relevant today.
Thank you, Tim. Let's show everybody the list of folks who are going to be joining us for our next session. We have 2 more sessions as part of this conversation. Please stay tuned. We are now going to, we've already met the folks from the town council. We met the mayor. We met the Stratford Town Trust. Now we're going to meet folks who are connected to institutions that are connected to Shakespeare in other ways. We're going to meet Bennett Carr, who's from King Edward VI School, Lindsay Armstrong, Shakespeare Schoolroom, and Reverend Patrick Taylor, Holy Trinity Church. We're going to say goodbye to Tim for the moment, and Tim is going to join us at the end of our conversation. Thank you so much, Tim, for hosting and being part of this great celebration. Hashtag salute to Stratford. So let's reveal our new players. Hello, everyone.
Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, so we have, we can tell one of you is a reverend, and there he is, and there's the collar. Reverend, we'll start with you, as we rightly should. How are you this morning? How are you feeling? How are your parishioners?
I'm very well indeed, thank you. Inspired by Tim, I've just rushed out into the garden and picked some rosemary from the vicarage garden, which smells lovely. We normally make poses for all of the choir members to sing for the Shakespeare service. Well, it won't be happening this year, but the room smells lovely now. No, I'm very well, thank you. It's been a really busy time. My diary is empty, but I've never been working harder. It's really strange. Just responding very immediately to the needs of people. And we're just doing our best to look out particularly for the most vulnerable people in our community, especially those who aren't connected to the internet. You know, they can't even watch this. And, you know, we're really trying to make sure that we don't lose contact with them.
And that's so important, that as those of us who are able to work from home and use the internet to be for entertainment or for work or to earn money, we have to be really conscious that there are people in the world who don't have that access, even in developed countries. And so that's something for all of us to be thinking about. Reverend, tell us how you're using the internet to connect to others, and also tell us the connection between Shakespeare and the church.
Okay, well, we're trying to use the internet to offer worship online, which is a really weird experience. So I sit in my dining room at the table with bread and wine and celebrate the Eucharist, and people can tune in live and join in with that. It's not the same as meeting together, but it's the best that we feel that we can do to help everybody who's part of the church community to feel connected with others and with God, and to really support them in their prayer in these really challenging times.
And can you give us a word about God and Shakespeare and the connections there? The topic of religion is in many of the plays, obviously. There are also some priestly characters and men of religious bent. Talk about that, please, and about the church and Shakespeare.
Yeah, so I'm the vicar of the parish of Stratford-on-Avon. I'm not here because I'm a Shakespeare scholar. In fact, when I was interviewed for this job, Shakespeare wasn't mentioned at all because they just wanted a parish priest. But I happen to be the vicar of the church where Shakespeare is buried and where he was also baptized. So it's a really important part of our story of who we are as a church, and still continues to be an important part of this community. So this coming weekend would have been a very busy weekend for us as a church. On the Saturday, we would open the doors and welcomed hundreds of people coming to lay flowers and wreaths at Shakespeare's grave. And then on the Sunday, we would have hosted the Shakespeare service, which is an important event in the year. So poor Shakespeare's grave sits in isolation now. He's in nobody's company except the angels and his maker. But we're still celebrating and remembering him this weekend, even though we can't actually be in the church.
The Guild Chapel it really is a gem. The paintings are incredible, is one of the comments that have come in, and that's just great to see that there. So let's talk to some of our other guests. We also have with us Bennett Carr, who's the headmaster at King Edward VI School. Please talk about the school and how you're doing and how are your students?
Well, our students are coping quite well, we think. There are 790 of them all learning remotely. It's quite a challenge. It's different work, and it's hard for them, I think, particularly if they have no siblings. It is quite tricky, but we're making the use of technology, use of video conferencing, and a remote learning platform. And so they're all doing well.
Thank you. And tell us about that painting next to you.
He's peering over my right shoulder. I'm actually sat in my study. I live on the school site, and he plays a very important part of our history, but also our sort of our day-to-day existence. Really, I think you ask the average teenager at this school, what does Shakespeare mean to them? They'll probably be like any other teenager around the country. But I can certainly tell you that there are plenty of them that when they become adults, put it on their CV that they went to Shakespeare school.
We have a question for you, Mr. Headmaster. Did he write King Lear, Macbeth, Antony, and Cleopatra during the plague? What would we be writing during the plague? How do you inspire your students at this time?
Well, that's quite interesting, actually, because I'm asking colleagues to send me examples of outstanding student work that they're completing during this time, and I'm writing a daily update to parents and students, and obviously trying to identify those students that have done so well. And just this morning, there was a Year 7 boy's work sent through to me where his name's Tom Manning, so I'll tell him that now. So he's got some publicity, and he's in Year 7, and he created a Snakes and Ladders board game based on the plague. I think Year 7 are quite enjoying doing work on the plague right now.
Thank you very, very much. I'm just happy to see that painting, and I also love your tie. It's lifting the mood at this difficult time.
Thank you. I'm glad you like it.
Okay, let's bring in another one of our guests who's here with us. Karen's here from Escape Arts. Hello, Karen. Tell us about Escape Arts.
Hello. I'm Karen Williams. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Escape Arts. We're very fortunate that we've worked in this beautiful town for over 20 years now. We are an arts and health charity, and we use creativity and heritage and a whole range of social engagement events and activities to help bring people together in the town. And it is really about the local people of Stratford. Sometimes growing up in Shakespeare's town can be quite difficult. So our work is all about celebrating local people and their stories.
Thank you. What are some of the things you can learn?
Sorry?
What are some of the things you learned by participating in your programs?
Oh, well, so much. I mean, we're so privileged. We work across all ages with lots of different community groups, and we have an arts and heritage centre situated in the very centre of town, which is the Escape Arts and Heritage Centre, formerly the old slaughterhouse. So it used to be part of a very popular butcher's business, and going way back in history, it was part of the site of the Crown Pub, which was frequented, we know, by John Shakespeare and possibly Shakespeare himself, and we know that for our fantastic archives at the Birthplace Trust. So we're big storytellers. We try and bring people's stories to life. We do lots of local exhibitions. So we've worked with the most incredible people, from D-Day veterans to matrons of the Munro Davis maternity home, Land Army girls, and we get them all involved in local exhibitions, sharing their story and doing living history events, which is fantastic for bringing the community together.
Thank you very much. We want to make sure everyone is muted. Yeah, let's read some of the comments that are coming in. There are so many comments from around the world. We want to hear from everybody. Tell us how you're feeling. Tell us what you're thinking about Shakespeare on his birthday. It's also an unusual number, 456. There'll never be that birthday again. 456 in that order. I love that number. Please keep tweeting. Please keep sharing. Use the hashtag Salute to Stratford. Salute to Stratford. You're watching this incredible gathering of people who represent the institutions and the town of Stratford, and they make the town of Stratford and make Shakespeare relevant today. Harry's saying, salute to Stratford, got my dream job at the RSC, the Royal Shakespeare Company, in September 99, moved here 4 years later. Keep safe, everyone. And we're going to meet a representative of the Royal Shakespeare Company in a little bit. Luis says, Shakespeare is still the greatest writer who ever lived. Let me ask the Reverend who's with us, Reverend, as you're listening to this conversation and you're seeing all these people coming in, what is the role of religion and science? How do you marry those two? Because at least in some parts of the world, we've seen folks who are not following science. So talk about that, please. Sorry, we're just going to unmute your mic. Just 1 second. We're going to unmute your mic, and then we'll get you in. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, no, I'm glad my mic was muted there because I was just recovering from the shock of the question, because that's a really big question, but a really important question. So science asks the question, how? You know, how does this work? How does this happen? How is this virus spreading? How can we find a way of stopping it? Okay. Religion, faith, asks another question, but a different question. It's asked why. Why are we here? What might be the purpose of our life at this time? Why is this happening? And those two questions are not in any way in conflict with each other. They are two questions that human beings need to ask. How is this happening? But also, why is this happening and what might it mean? And religion can't answer the science questions, and science very often can't answer the religious questions. So we need to work together. And there is a sort of false idea out there that somehow you have to choose between either a scientific account of reality or a faith and religious account of reality. There's no conflict at all. The two, for me anyway, work together very well. And I think what Shakespeare does is actually brings those things together as well, because Shakespeare explores just human experience. And that's something which everybody shares. And no matter where you come from, what your faith background, what your nationality is, or your culture, something about just the basic experience of love, fear, and joy, passion, and all that stuff that you see in Shakespeare's plays that unites us. So what we find at Holy Trinity is we welcome people into the church. It was a church building that existed on that site for as many years before Shakespeare was born as it has since he was born. But we welcome people who come to visit Shakespeare's grave, but also we find that people experience in the beautiful holy space that Holy Trinity Church is, something of the presence of God. And it's always a great joy to see that. Shakespeare provides a sort of a reason to come, but often people leave having met not only Shakespeare, but God as well.
Wow, that's incredible. I'm reading a comment from Roberta Oster in Virginia who says, this show is a gift. Thank you to all those who keep Shakespeare's memory alive. We're so grateful to all of you for being here. We've got another group of people who are going to come in a moment. I'm going to give each of you a chance to give us a final thought before we move on. Karen, CEO of Escape Arts. We're just going to unmute the mic. Go ahead.
Oh, hello. Yeah, so normally we're so busy getting ready to celebrate the Shakespeare celebrations. We have an amazing team and an amazing group of volunteers. We're all working really hard online to inspire people and to run creative programs online. We're just so looking forward to opening our doors again and filling Stratford's empty streets full of life and vibrancy and colour, and celebrate the very people who live and work here, because they make the town what it is.
Thank you. Karen is the CEO of Escape Arts. Please look up all of these organizations. Please support all the organizations, because they all need our help as we are celebrating Shakespeare, but remembering the town and saluting the town. Bennett Carr is the headmaster of the school where William Shakespeare studied. By the way, this is the least nervous I've been talking to a headmaster.
No, I'll put the cane away, don't worry. I'd like to pick up on Patrick's point, because science definitely it looks at how, and faith looks at why. But perhaps we should all be thinking about what we can do now to help others that are less fortunate than ourselves. And it's something we've really tried to stress with our students now is look after themselves, but also when you're in isolation with your family, but think about how they're having to cope as well. And it's something that I think is really important for everyone to be outward looking now. We've had a brilliant a brilliant initiative with our head of design technology, who's been 3D printing personal protective equipment for local medical surgeries, and within a week we've donated all of our science goggles and masks and plastic gloves and so on and so forth. And I think we should sort of each day think about what we can do, and also think about the people that we usually help. People like our students volunteer and work with various organisations in the town. So, for example, they do the talking newspaper for those that are visually impaired, and those groups will be suffering even more hardship than they normally would do. So, I think it's important to sort of to make sure that we look around ourselves and see who we can be helping. And if all of our students and all of our staff do that, that's an awful lot of people.
Thank you. We thank each of you for being here. Our guests have been Patrick Taylor, Reverend Patrick Taylor, Bennett Carr, and Karen Williams. Thank you very much. We wish you the very best, and looking forward to seeing you in Stratford in the next few months and the next year. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, folks, you're watching. We're not done. We have another great group of people who are going to be joining us. You've already met Tim Cook, the CEO of Shakespeare Birthplace Trust. You've met Kate Rolfe, the mayor of Stratford. You've met Sarah Summers, the town clerk. You've met Sarah Aspley, the town trust CEO. And you just had a session with Bennett Carr, King Edward School headmaster, and then Lindsay Armstrong. And you also met Karen Williams from Escape Arts, and you met also Reverend Patrick Taylor, who's the Reverend at Holy Trinity Church, the church where Shakespeare is buried. And now for our final grouping of folks who are going to share with us their thoughts, mostly from the art side, our four. Let's pull them on the screen and we'll introduce you to them. Geraldine Collins is here from the Royal Shakespeare Company. Jill Sutherland is here from Stratford-upon-Avon Herald. We also have Joe Bacanet from the Business Improvement District for Stratford's business improvement plans called Strat Forward. I like that name, Joe. And we're joined also by Helen Peters, CEO of Shakespeare's England. And hello to all of you. And let's go to Jill from the Stratford Herald. How are you?
Yeah, I'm great. Thank you. Really good. Relieved. Today is a Thursday and it's the day the Stratford Herald comes out. So it's always a bit of a sigh of relief after the stresses of yesterday. So good. Yes.
And you're the arts editor, means you are our go-to person for what's happening around town. And in a way, obviously nothing is happening now, but everything is happening. People are looking for the arts in many ways. Talk about that, please.
Yeah, it's been quite phenomenal, really. The venues are obviously closed a couple of weeks ago, a month ago now, but the creativity that we're seeing, which I'm sure everyone's really aware of, is quite phenomenal and quite overwhelming. Whilst on the paper we're having to deal with a lot of hard-hitting news stories to do with the coronavirus and the terrible impact and devastation that it's having, we're also hearing from so many creative, artistic people. What they're doing behind closed doors is quite phenomenal, and it's not always behind closed doors. In the paper today, we've got the story of Isabella Asminer, who goes to Kes School, who was playing violin on the street, Ode to Joy, as part of the National Youth Orchestra, playing on the streets campaign, and all sorts. And one of our real poster girls, I think, for Salute to Stratford and the RSC campaigns is a lady called Margot McCleary, who's written some poems, and we've got a story on her, and her spirit really embodies, I think, what's so special about Shakespeare's time, but also how the community is pulling together in these trying times.
Thank you so much, Jill. Let's meet some of our other colleagues. I also want to read a quote that was just posted on screen. Shakespeare Distillery says, "Happy birthday, Shakespeare. We like this quote. When I was at home, I was in a better place. As you like it, Act 2, Scene 4. Maybe we should do a quiz. Not you all on the spot, but as we read these wonderful quotes, tell us where you're watching from. Tag a friend. Please hit share right now. We're live on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, and we're having a global conversation about Shakespeare. Let's go to our friend from the Royal Shakespeare Company. Geraldine, how are you?
I'm great, thank you. Enjoying the sunny weather and celebrating Shakespeare's birthday, not quite in the normal way that we would do, but yeah, thinking about Shakespeare around the world, the global impact really that Shakespeare has. I love the fact that, you know, wherever you travel, when you meet people and you say, oh, I'm from Stratford-upon-Avon, and everybody knows where you're from, and they're planning their own pilgrimages to Stratford, you know, either to go to the Birthplace Trust, to walk the streets of Stratford, you know, that Shakespeare walked, which is amazing, or to come to the theatre, or indeed to participate in lots of the other great things that happen in Stratford around the year. So it's great to be connecting with people, to hear all the people that are commenting on the show and talking to you, and that there's still a sense of you know, global Shakespeare today, as we're all celebrating digitally.
And you're the director of events and exhibitions at the RSC. Tell me what was the sequencing where you knew that this was going to be a very different year?
I mean, for us, it happened quite late on, I guess, that you know, you kind of realise that the theatres are shut, and then you start to realise that actually how long this is gonna happen, you know, this is gonna last. So what different things are we going to do? So at the RSC, we've been working on the Share Your Shakespeare campaign now for a few weeks, really thinking about the birthday as the highlight of that Share Your Shakespeare, and getting everybody to think about how they can do Shakespeare, whether it be with their, you know, their pets, or their making cakes, or performing their own Shakespeare. So we've been thinking about that for the last few weeks, but like everybody, you know, really we've just been taking things a day at a time and thinking about, you know, how do we respond to the new context that we're in.
And we're just so grateful to see all these comments coming in. And please continue to share with the hashtag Salute to Stratford. Salute to Stratford is the hashtag. Please follow all these organizations as we bring them on. We're showing their URLs so that you can take a look and go to their online presence on Twitter, on Facebook, etc. Let's go to Joe Bacanet, who is with the Business Improvement District. It's not just called Stratford, it's called Stratforward. Joe, can you hear me? All right. Let's go to Helen Peters, the CEO of Shakespeare's England.
Hi there.
Go ahead, Helen. Tell us about Shakespeare's England. I like the name.
Oh, well, Shakespeare's England, we're the what's called a destination management organisation. So in Old Money, that's the tourist board. We're the tourist board for South Warwickshire. But of course, having Stratford, one of our most important towns in that region, it seems sensible to brand ourselves as Shakespeare's England. So we're a membership organisation supporting a range of visitor attractions, hotels, food and beverage, walks, guides, the whole hospitality sector, which unfortunately is having a challenging time, like a lot of people.
Yeah, we're really sorry to hear that. Tell me how you're planning the exit out of this. How do you game plan that? Because there is no playbook, is there?
No, there isn't, and we're being very conscious about talking about a restart. We feel that's a much more optimistic terminology rather than recovery. We've not been ill. We're going to restart bigger and better. But I think what's been fantastic is to see how our members have responded, how they've moved into, you know, giving great support to the communities, you know, even things like Johnson's Coaches providing Easter eggs that would normally have been given out on their spring tours, donating those to the schools, donating those to medical centres for children and staff. We've got lots of our hotels who are actually offering accommodation for the key workers and for the NHS. So there's a fantastic sense of community. And then moving forward for the restart, lots of our attractions and museums and theatres have been doing virtual tours. They're doing live streaming. So we're doing a lot of armchair travel, trying to inspire people, to keep them engaged, but also hopefully to excite them so that when we are let back out to play, whenever that might be, they will have built up a little library of things that they really want to see and do that they may never have done before, or they may not have done for a long time.
Thank you very much. Helen Peters is Chief Executive of Shakespeare's England. I believe we have Joe Bacanet with us. Hi, Joe. How are you?
Hi. How you doing?
Tell us about the Business Improvement District. It's not just called Stratford BID, it's Stratford.
Yeah, we've been well, we've existed for 10 years, 11 years now. We're in our third term. We represent about 420 businesses in town, 420 incredible businesses who are going through the toughest time imaginable for most of them. From a business perspective and from Shakespeare's perspective, I think everyone loves Stratford, loves the town, loves doing business in town. It's not always easy, but it's the stories behind the businesses that we love, and we are privileged to work in the town and privileged to work with these people who make their life and their living in Stratford.
Yeah, thank you. What are you telling your business owners? How do you keep them calm and engaged and not, become so sad and depressed when this is going on, especially the businesses that rely on that footfall, that foot traffic?
I mean, for a lot of the businesses, obviously, most are now shut. We've been giving them business advice so they can actually get access to government money. And also, there's some remarkable innovation that's going on with businesses out there. And we're hoping and encouraging them to keep that as their new normal when we are allowed to restart and come back to the world and physically see each other. Things like this broadcast is incredible, and if we hadn't been through this, no one would have thought perhaps to innovate and do stuff differently. So these are both challenging times and times of opportunity as well.
And Joe, one last question to you. What is it like to be the youngest organization in a town where many of them are hundreds of years old?
Yeah, well, we just have to puff our chest out a little bit if we want to be heard occasionally.
Thank you. I'm going to ask our friend Jill, who is the arts editor, talk a little bit, if you can, because we have people joining us now live who may have missed the earlier part. Put Shakespeare in context for us, please. Not just what he means to Stratford, but about Shakespeare and in the world.
Gosh, I'm probably not the biggest Shakespeare expert to answer that, but I mean, one of the things that's interesting is we in our town we have a tremendous sense of ownership, and it's behind so much of what we do, but we're really aware that we exist. We thrive on visitors and of sharing Shakespeare stories. And so usually it's an exceptional year, obviously, but usually we'd hear from the other 7 Stratfords. There's 7 other Stratfords, and they all pride themselves on having that link to the original Stratford and Shakespeare. And so, I mean, for us as a newspaper, as a local newspaper, you're all about community, and we're all about sharing stories and really hearing individual voices. And for us, because Shakespeare is so much about the world and everybody else's stories, we love hearing about how Shakespeare's interpreted in different cultures all over the globe. And we've seen all the links that we've forged with China and what's happening there, and they're building a Shakespeare theme park and everything. So it's amazing how it just carries on to unite the world. Shakespeare unites the world.
Yeah, that is certainly true. I'm going to ask Geraldine from the Royal Shakespeare Company to just talk a little bit about the range of things that you do globally. It's not just in Stratford, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. We have, in fact, we had lockdown shows touring all around the world, in America, in Japan, in South Korea, and of course we also stream our work to cinemas. So you know, we had work happening all the time. What's really great is now that some of the shows that we made for cinema are available on the BBC, so people with access to BBC iPlayer can watch those for free. So it's great to have that content out there and to keep a kind of global presence. Just picking up on what Helen was saying, particularly about revival and about new beginnings, I suppose I was thinking about, you know, the first time that everybody comes to Stratford and the pilgrimage. And, you know, I've been going back to when I first came in 1982, and you know, the shows you see and these incredible rich experiences that you have as a young person. And you know, how we can be planning those experiences for people in the future, and really thinking about how we welcome everybody Stratford so that they can have those same experiences that we've been so lucky to have in our childhoods. You know, my grandma always talks to me about coming here in 1937, so I think there's an image somewhere of her, you know, outside the birthplace. Or, you know, I came in 1982, and I'm lucky that, you know, I still get to come to Stratford and I still get to engage with the work, and I'm so much looking forward to welcoming people back again, and, you know, being in our theatres and being in Stratford and with my colleagues who I've seen on the screen today, which is, you know, great to see friends and think, you know, of times when we'll all be together again, and yeah, experiencing theatre and culture as we do. You know, we're so lucky to do so well in Stratford.
How often do you get together like this in physical meetings?
In physical meetings, well, for something like the birthday, we all plan together. So, you know, we're often sitting around tables talking about the work that we've got coming up for the birthday. So yeah, normally today we would be very much together, and particularly thinking towards the parade on Saturday. You know, where we, you know, it's one of the highlights of the year in Stratford. But then there'll be other things like press nights, or, you know, particular shows where we get to come together as well. So yeah, I mean, we don't often come together like this, but I guess maybe in future ways of working, we'll find that we're doing this more often as well.
Thank you, Geraldine. From the Royal Shakespeare Company, we have a guest now. Lindsay Armstrong is with Shakespeare Schoolroom, and let's see if we have her there. Hi, Lindsay. How are you? Can you hear me, Lindsay? Hi. Lindsay, we may not have Lindsay, but Shakespeare Schoolroom is a wonderful visitors place where people can go and visit and experience the Shakespeare experience there. So let's go to Helen from Shakespeare's England. Helen, how are you? Just reflect on this conversation, please, as you think of all the work that you're doing and your team is doing as well.
Well, the first thing I'd like to say is I hope Lindsay could see me, because behind me there is one of their lovely brochures. I can't work out which way to move my up there for the schoolroom, because as you say, it's a fantastic visitor attraction where people can actually go into the very classroom that Shakespeare would have learned his craft in. And you can also experience a Latin lesson, which brought back lots of memories for me. But yes, so I mean, obviously moving forward, we're just looking at being able to engage again with our visitors. We see over 10.9 million visitors to the area annually, and about 50% of those are international, 50% of them are domestic. So we appreciate that this is going to be a long haul before we see our visitor numbers back. But with all the amazing things that are going on that my colleagues have already referred to, the amount of innovation and online and digitization, we're very confident that we can keep Stratford and William Shakespeare right up there at the front of people's memories. And it won't be long before they'll be able to experience everything literally in a sort of face-to-face way. But in the interim, they can do it virtually via streaming services, etc.
All right. Thank you, Helen Peters, CEO of Shakespeare's England. We're going to try one more time. Lindsay from Shakespeare Schoolroom. Hi, Lindsay.
Hi, I'm so sorry. I've been having technical problems this morning. And thank you very much for inviting us on this morning. It's wonderful. This is actually a particularly poignant day for Shakespeare Schoolroom because it's our 4th birthday. We opened on the 23rd of April 2016, and we've just loved welcoming visitors from all over the world to the building and the school where Shakespeare learnt and got his inspiration to become the world incredible playwright that he became. So our staff, our volunteers, everyone is sitting at home, many people watching this. Hi, everybody. And we're all really sad not to be in Stratford and open, but, you know, needs must. The other thing that's quite interesting at the moment is that we're celebrating this year our 600th birthday. So the building was completed in 1420, 600 years ago, and it has been a school for almost 500 years on a continuous basis, and is still used by King Edward VI school every day. So,
Lindsay, just hearing these dates itself is kind of stunning, right? For an American,
I know.
To hear 500
building.
600 years, these are incredible numbers. Tell us what it's like what would they see? Because we want to entice people to come back when they can. What can they see when they walk through your space?
So they see a 600-year-old timber-built building. It was built almost like you build furniture from IKEA. You know, all the pieces are numbered. It's an absolutely stunning building, and we have some 600-year-old medieval wall paintings at the end. One of which is brand new, John the Baptist, that we just discovered 3 weeks before we opened in 2016. So he is just beautiful. And we have some really interesting and short films to show people. But upstairs we have Shakespeare's classroom, which is exactly how he would have been taught when he was at school. So they say that if he came back to Stratford, this is one place where he would just walk in and feel at home, because it's exactly how he would have been taught. We have his school teacher there. He's been there for quite some time now, and he's asking for retirement, but he's still there every day giving Tudor school lessons to our visitors, which is fantastic fun. Everyone learns a bit of Latin. They understand about how it was for William Shakespeare and his friends when they were there as children in the 16th century. So really good fun, really good fun.
Andrew Nelson says, actor Patrick Stewart has been doing a great job reciting Shakespeare's sonnets. His readings have encouraged me to dive into the work. And that's our hope, folks, that we can encourage people to relive and rediscover Shakespeare. We want to say goodbye to this group of wonderful folks as we get ready for our finale. We want to thank each of them has just been wonderful. Let's show each of them and say goodbye. Joe, thank you very much. Actually, I'm going to ask each of you, if we can, very quickly, a final thought. Joe from the Business Improvement District. You're on first, Joe.
Final thought: everyone's welcome back in Stratford, and we're just hoping and waiting for the restart. It's going to be great to be walking the streets again, visiting our favourite, probably coffee shops. To be honest, I'm a coffee addict, so that was going to be something that we will all enjoy, no doubt. And just be able to see the friends and the businesses that we've made over time. And enjoy the restart of all the plays, the plays that take place in life on the streets, but also in the theatre and the buildings all around us. So it's an extraordinary time, but I'm really looking forward to getting back to work physically as opposed to virtually.
Thank you, Jill Sutherland, arts editor of the Stratford Herald.
Well, you know, the Herald celebrates 120 years this year. We were formed in 1860, and we've been at the heart of the community there, documenting everyone's stories and what goes on. And what's been really heartening is the support and love we've felt over this trying period, and we hope to continue sharing your stories.
Thank you very much, Jill. Let's go to Geraldine from the Royal Shakespeare Company.
Well, like everybody, I'm really looking forward to being back in Stratford and back in the theatres in particular. We have still got lots of things happening, so lots of opportunities to share your Shakespeare in the meantime on our social channels, and our education work happening in schools all around the country. and lots of home learning. So, you know, there's lots of resources that you can access, but none of it's going to be being in a theatre, being able to see actors performing on the stage, being in our restaurants and our exhibitions and all the great family activity that we do as well. So, you know, personally, I'm really looking forward to. I'm reminded of Shri when you came to visit before, and dressed up as the different characters from Shakespeare in our foyer. So those brilliant moments when you see people, you know, discovering Shakespeare and relating to it. So I'm looking forward to that again.
Thank you very much, Geraldine. Collins is the Director of Exhibitions and Events at the RSC, as you say on your social media handles. Let's go to Helen Peters, the CEO of Shakespeare's England.
Well, I would just again like to thank all the Shakespeare's members for the amazing support they've been showing, not only to each other, but also to their local communities in this challenging time, and a real coming together, helping distribute PPE and also feed the communities, etc. But I think, you know, we need to go out on a positive. So I think it's just a question of saying, if music be the food of love, play on.
Okay, thank you. And let's go to Lindsay Armstrong from Shakespeare Schoolroom.
Thank you, Shri. I just want to say, well, this, you know, this is the first time in 600 years that this building has been closed. It stayed open through both world wars. It stayed open through all of the plagues that hit Stratford and England throughout the 15th, 16th, 17th centuries. And this is the first time it's been closed. It's an extraordinary time. And we are looking forward immensely to welcoming everybody back, not just visitors, but I'm looking so forward to seeing everybody who works there and who's stuck at home at the moment.
Thank you so much. Before Geraldine leaves, I wanted to show that picture of us dressed up at the Royal Shakespeare Company. I can say that I was wearing a costume from the Royal Shakespeare Company. This is one of the fun things people get to do in Stratford in all the various ways. That's my wife and our twins. We loved every moment in Stratford. It's one of the greatest places to be. And Shakespeare lives in Stratford today as he has for centuries. So thank you all very much. We're going to say all of them, and we're going to wrap up with our CEO of the Shakespeare Birthplace Trust, Tim Cook, who was going to give us some words of wisdom. Not to put any pressure on you, Tim, but that's what we're going to do. We're going to get some words of wisdom from Tim Cook, the CEO of Shakespeare Birthplace Trust. How are you feeling, Tim?
Well, you know, it just kind of strikes me again, doesn't it, as we listen to the last hour or so of conversation, what a rich and layered place Stratford-upon-Avon is. For those of us who have the privilege of being there every day, and for our many visitors, many millions of visitors from around the world on an annual basis. So, you know, I'm very struck by that sense of community. I think this has been a wonderful initiative, and thank you, Shri, for bringing this together, and your colleague Neil, because you've created for us a really fabulous way and portal of reconnecting, but also kind of sharing what we do and our enthusiasm for what we do with all of the people who have managed to join us. I'm very conscious that Shakespeare is completely at the heart of this, and I'm just going to hold up to the screen, if I may, a photograph of the honorary president of the Shakespeare Birthplace Trust, Professor Sir Stanley Wells. And along with Shakespeare's birthday, in the Trust this year, we're celebrating Stanley's 90th birthday. And to mark that occasion, Sir Stanley has produced 4 lectures on the theme, What Was Shakespeare Really Like? And what's interesting about today is that the first of those lectures is going live on our website after 3 o'clock this afternoon. So I encourage you, all of you, to tune in for that. Someone was kind enough to remark earlier on my floral display. This tie I'm wearing is a rainbow-themed tie based on artistic inspiration from one of the items in our collection. It was a ribbon that was used at the David Garrick Jubilee, Shakespeare Jubilee in Stratford-upon-Avon in 1769. And it's interesting, in the UK, in the middle of this crisis, I'm not sure if it's the same in the US, but here the rainbow has become a real symbol of hope. It's been used as a symbol of hope and as a tribute to the wonderful health workers in our National Health Service as they deal with this crisis at the very sharp end. So one of the things I'm very confident of in wearing this tie, that just in the same way as we are celebrating Shakespeare 456 years from his birth, in another 456 years looking forward, other people will be celebrating Shakespeare and still drawing upon him and his work as a source of inspiration for their lives.
Wow. What a wonderful way to think about where we're going. We're showing on the screen here, this is the lecture series you mentioned, and we're celebrating the 90th birthday of Professor Sir Stanley Wells. And what was Shakespeare really like? A series of lectures that he has recorded. And the first one goes live today on the Shakespeare Birthplace Trust website. So everyone should go and check that out, shakespeare.org.uk. And a great way to use technology. And I'm going to ask Tim to hold up his phone again, if he can, because I want to take a picture of this and send it to Tim's namesake, Tim, the other Tim Cook, the other CEO. Tim, will you hold the phone off to the side a little bit so we can see your face? Okay. Oh, there you go. Yeah, you can just hold it back. Yeah, perfect. Just hold it back.
Some reflection.
There you go. That's perfect. We're going to take a screenshot and send that to the other Tim Cook, who's the CEO of Apple. And here we're connecting the two Tim Cooks and Shakespeare, 500 years of, 400 years of Shakespeare, 5 centuries of Shakespeare, and today's modern technology. I love that. Thank you so much, Tim, for bringing us together, for the convening power of Stratford, this convening power of the Shakespeare Birthplace Trust. What are the first things you're going to enjoy when things are back to normal?
Seeing people who I miss most, who I work with every day, the fabulous staff and volunteers, first of all, of the Shakespeare Birthplace Trust, but then interacting with all of those wonderful partners who have had some insight into their enthusiasm and commitment today.
And we've certainly felt that. And before we go, I'm going to show again the list of organizations that are here. One of the things you have to do in these online things is that people are joining us every minute from around the world. So we just want to reflect on them. And Tim, if you can see the list, maybe you can do a shout out to these folks.
Yes, I'd like to thank the Mayor, Kate Rolfe, Sarah Summers from Stratford Town Council, Joe Bacanet from Stratford Bid, Sarah Aspley from Stratford Town Trust, Ben Carr from King Edward School, Lindsay Armstrong from the schoolroom, Reverend Patrick Taylor from Holy Trinity Church, Geraldine Collins from the Royal Shakespeare Company, Jill Sutherland from the Stratford-upon-Avon Herald, Karen Williams from Escape Arts, and Helen Peters from Shakespeare's England. They are wonderful colleagues and wonderful enthusiasts and ambassadors for Stratford-upon-Avon and Shakespeare.
And let's give a shout out to your colleagues as well, who have been working so hard at very difficult times, not just here, but I presume you have some staff who are manning some of the estates and farms and things like that?
We do, and they're doing an absolutely fabulous job. We're sorry that all of our staff can't be with us at the moment, and we have a small team who are continuing to work. They're looking after the rare breed animals at Mary Arden's farm. They're looking after all of our houses, the Shakespeare family homes. They're making sure that we have a very strong digital presence, and we're able to keep sharing our knowledge of Shakespeare online. And of course, they're working to plan for when we return to welcoming visitors to the Shakespeare family homes.
Let's also take a look at some of the posts coming in. Oh, look at the birthday balloons that Twitter is offering, because you've listed the April 23rd date as the birthday of not just Shakespeare, but of the Twitter post. So that's just great to see. So let's look at some of the comments that have been coming in from around the world. Gavin says, so sad not to be celebrating the birthday this weekend. Hiking music, I am expecting, so people are listening from around the world. I love my hometown, says Karen of Stratford, missing my role at Shakespeare's new place while the properties are closed. Happy birthday, Mr. Shakespeare. Birthday greetings to William Shakespeare from Stratford Stratford-upon-Avon. It's just great to have this conversation. Great job, Tim, says Martin. So your friends are here and you're seeing this global conversation. Tweets are coming in. Salute to Shakespeare. Please use this throughout the day as we look at this enormous collection of folks who have gathered to celebrate. We've had more than 4 million impressions of the tweets just with that hashtag during the last few hours of this exercise that we've done, the celebration of Shakespeare. Look at people posting photographs. Look at people sharing the various Shakespeare roles, Anthony and Cleopatra, all of these. I think, Tim, we need to do another session where we're actually reading from the plays and getting some of the reenactors and the actors to celebrate. What do you think?
I think that would be a fantastic and inspirational idea. And after this, I think you'll have many, many takers if you propose that.
Terrific. Thank you, folks. There's nothing left to say here because there's too much to say, too much to celebrate. And at the same time, we're so conscious of the healthcare workers, first responders who are doing an amazing job in Stratford, in England, and all over the world. And we're all together today. All the world's a stage, which is, of course, one of the most famous Shakespeare lines. And we'll have to leave it at that. Thank you very much to everybody who participated. Thank you very much to Neil Parekh and Paula Kiger on my team. I'm in New York. Neil's in suburban Washington, and Paula is in Tallahassee, Florida. You, Tim, are in Stratford-upon-Avon. There's no better place I would rather be right now than visiting with you, but we'll have to do this together another time, but we will, won't we?
I greatly look forward to it, and we definitely will.
Thank you very much, everybody. Tim, let's wave goodbye, and we'll say
thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
We're going to say bye, and thank you so much, everyone.